Okay, hello and welcome everybody. Before we begin, I have a small ask. Let's make sure that all of our computer tabs are closed. We want to close them mentally, but also physically. If you can turn down your phone, I understand some people may want to keep an eye on it, but I'm making sure I'm doing the same on mine. And I'm going to uh, just turn mine to got it on mute. That way, if suddenly some super important person or the lottery calls and lets me know that I have won, I can get my alert right away. All right. So, what are we doing? Well, I just want you to give yourself permission to be fully present for the next hour. And these calls are best when you're actually here, just not half listening, doing something else. So, let's just take a breath, hold it, kind of like let your shoulder, bring your shoulders up, and then let it go. There we go. And just let yourself arrive here. And today's session is called I Am Non-Negotiable, where identity becomes stable and results begin. And, most people believe that the reason that they're stuck in life is because in some area of life, they feel like they need a better strategy or a better opportunity or better timing. But part of their identity is still actually negotiating with reality. Okay. And it's not just even your current reality. You're negotiating with the past version of yourself, where we talked about this a little bit, I think, in the cohort, and we've been talking about it here. But there's a moment here you want to do something, you want to move forward, and suddenly you're remembering something from your past, and you're having to go ask your parents, your family. You're having to undo and unravel from your past relationship, but you're also energetically and emotionally asking for permission and trying to negotiate in advance with the customers that you want to have. We could even say the lifestyle that you want to have, the opportunities that you want to have, the health that you want to have. You're negotiating with your future self. And the default always comes back to safety. Okay. And then you pull yourself back, and that keeps you going in a circle. Um, I've mentioned this before that recently I realized that when it came to setting income goals, I was going, you know what? This is my income goal. I was like, well, yeah, I deserve that. I want that. I could have that. But then it's like, well, really? I mean, maybe half that. But if I get at least this much, but maybe if I got a little more than this much, and on my mind was racing and trying, and I said, I am not who am I negotiating with? About the kind of life I want to live, the kind of money I want to make. Who am I going to and asking permission of? And it stopped me in my track. And I said, for me to take care of myself and to feel successful and have the impact I want, this is what it looks like. And I'm not negotiating that anymore. And my body just went, I didn't even realize I was doing it because I was raised, well, y'all know my story, but I was raised to, want not only get along, but make it. You got to make it with whatever's handy. Be flexible, be creative, which is great. But you never really learn to assemble the proper tools in advance. You're just like operating from the default that you're not going to have what you need. You're not going to have the support. You're not going to have the tools. You're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the money. That becomes your default way of thinking. And when we're talking about what the non-negotiables are, you are going to assume that when you make a command, you've made the decision about what you want to attract, create, transform in your life, what that looks like. And then everybody goes to, but I need to make the money, but then there's this problem, there's that. What you're actually doing is I'm going to assume that I have everything I need because my getting my needs met is non-negotiable. Having the money I require, not wish for, but require to live the kind of life I want is non-negotiable. I'm a little older, so now I don't quite trust my energy. Or it's like 2 weeks ago, no, now I guess it's been a month, my back got a back spasm and it just wouldn't go away. And I was like, oh my God, I had all this to do. And I just said, I've made the commitment to do this. This is happening this week. And that's where I came up with the concept of thinking about, hey, I've made the decision to take this action. And what action will I take at each level of energy is available to me? Not doing it is not an option. Not because I want to be punished, but because I'm doing it for my future self. Are we together on this? So what's really happening is something much deeper. You're a part of your identity, the way you see and know yourself is negotiating with reality. And when identity negotiates, confidence rises and falls. Your inner authority rises and falls. And your decisions become inconsistent because you're always reacting to whatever's in front of you. Okay, we're going to be talking about some different ways. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the past calls, I have them all in the school community. It's under classroom. You'll see the banner that looks like very similar to this. Where are you? Okay, it looks very similar to this. And you can go there and I have all the calls for this series there. I have the handouts and I even added something to today's call in the handout where it talks about the science behind everything I'm teaching you. Because there are some people who go, where did this idea come from? Right. Well, I'm going to be sharing with you where those come from. Okay. So we're going to be exploring in the moment where identity stops negotiating. And so by the end of this call, you will identify where your identity is still reacting to circumstances. You're going to define the non-negotiable standards for the person you are becoming, not reacting to the person you were in the past, not even today. There is a new now. I mean, and when I say that, there's now, if you think about a string of pearls, and that string of pearls represented time. Each pearl is the now moment. There's actually no past and there's no future. You can't go there except in your imagination. But all we have is now. So we are talking to ourselves now from a new possibility, and we're going to make a new decision. The decisions we make today are going to affect us on a few pearls down the road for that future version of ourselves, so that future version of ourselves can have everything she wants, needs, or desires in order to be happy and fulfilled. So it's not just insight. Today, you're going to leave this call with a decision about who you're becoming and a step that confirms it in the real world. So this is the path that we are going today, where we're going to be doing the pressure test. We're going to be identifying our non-negotiables, the wishes versus wishes. We always default to safety and we negotiate down, and a lot of times we take away from our own wants, needs, and our own energy in the name of safety. And that's an old program from childhood when we were powerless. And we had to manipulate and negotiate and bargain to get our needs met. We aren't doing that anymore. Could you make a decision? Are you tired of negotiating with yourself for what you want, need, and desire, and always putting yourself on the wrong side of the negotiation? Let's stop that, okay? But then we're going to be tying this to action. Action is what will harden it into your reality. And we're going to be talking more about that. Okay. So let me change my what we're sharing and goes to a new screen share where we've got the handout. There we go. If does anybody need the handout? Okay. All right, Margie, I'll make sure you get yours. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat.
I have a question. Is this not
Okay.
time? I came in late, I apologize, and you were talking about how when you were working, you had the back spasm. So
Yes.
can you clarify, if other people don't mind, again, how you worked with that and understood it and
Okay.
got through it to, represent your current identity versus the back
Yeah.
spasm as the old identity?
My body was not happy. I was doing a lot. We had a lot going on at the house. And then I was in the middle of creating this the workshop that I'm doing, the March cohort. And the creative process is kind of, and let me take care of myself. And I'm a big believer in breathing and stretching and talking to my body. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and get medical support. But what I had a big plan that day for the actions that I wanted to take on my schedule. And so I went from a nice solid 85% to a 0% that afternoon. And so my 0% strategy when I have zero energy or time is at the bare minimum, I visualize. Okay. I visualize what I want to do. I might on my phone have a conversation with Chat GTP because no matter how bad I feel, me and Chat GTP can always talk and get clarity. And then from doing that, I found, well, I could actually do a little more. And I wound up doing about 30% of what I wanted to do. And resting actually gave me the clarity because the message that came in was I was pushing myself, I was fearful, and I have to give myself permission to rest and give space to unwind everything. And when I got that message, I put down my phone and I just said, in this space between knowing and not knowing, I'm going to choose trust. And then later that afternoon, I was able to get up and I hadn't really been able to do much. So once I got the message, I created what I needed, and that was space. Is that the answer you were asking for?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Very-
you. Okay. And thank you for asking. I appreciate that. All right. So, pardon me, if you've got your handout, there we go. Most people will give up things in exchange for safety. And safety might look like avoiding visibility, not speaking up, keeping an idea small, staying in a role that no longer fits. My role in my house is changing from granny nanny to grandmother, and just to where I'm, I can be a trusted, loving source and contribute to the home through love, right? But now, like that role shifted, and the energy and the vibe. I mean, like my mindset, my energy, my focus just shifted when I kind of just even shifted that role and that identity that I was labeling myself. So sometimes we call it being practical. Sometimes we call it being responsible. But very often we're trading something important for really important in exchange for feeling safe. We're trading out opportunity, income, leadership, expression. So let's just take a moment. And what we like to do in these calls is we want to create an open loop. Okay. And I'm going to refer you back to the handout, which is on my other screen. You're going to see me looking over here. So in the handout, we're going to tune in here. Let's see, we're about middle of the page. And just sorry, section 1. We're going to find out where the pressure is. Okay, so when circumstances do not immediately match your intention, most people assume something's wrong. I got a little statement I want to write out for you. I want to encourage you to, like, this is a revision of what we hear. All things that are working and not working are for my good. All things that are not working, all things that are working and not working are for my greater good. We always hear that all things are working together for my greater good. All things that are working and not working are for my greater good. Breathe into that. Yeah. Someone was telling me about how they had this big trip planned, and they realized that it wasn't going to happen. In fact, she's supposed to go to Dubai, and she couldn't figure out where the resistance was. And then something happened with her plane ticket, and she said, "Why am I so confused all the time? I had this all worked out." And she was just getting really mad. And then a friend called her and said, "Oh my God, the meeting's canceled." She said, "Why?" She said, "You haven't watched the news?" I'm like, "No, no." And she said, "A war broke out over there." And immediately was the relief. And she realized her default was to make herself wrong, to criticize herself. Okay. She was not in her identity of a person who was choosing, who is intuitive, who could trust herself. And so that line came up out of that call. And I said, all things are working and not working for your greater good. Okay. So what's actually happening is reality is revealing where your identity is still conditional. And if your identity changes with circumstances, it's not stabilized, as I said before. So now I want you to just think back on this week or this last few weeks. And when like something specific happened, like I told you the story about the lady and she's planning the trip, something came up for you. I told the story about when my back acted up, and or you got frustrated about something, you felt overwhelmed. When the scene comes up, we want a specific scene, and you may remember other things, but put one specific. And you're going to write here, I reacted like someone who believes. And you write down the belief that was operating. So my client, her belief was that she's scattered and she can't be trusted to do anything. I realized I was acting like someone who didn't trust the process, and I was trying to fill in, and keep doing. Who have you been reacting like? And what does that reflect? What belief does that reflect? I also want you to notice how you're experiencing that belief in your body. This is a very interactive, hands-on workshop, but we only have an hour. So pause and think. What would the stabilized version of me believe instead? A person who already embodies my desired identity would believe. So if my desired identity is I'm a leader. I'm actually kind of growing up in a new level of leadership. We've talked about that. I want to start speaking more. Yeah, going out in front of live human beings and talking. So if I were embodying that leadership and someone who was comfortable communicating the ideas of this I am wealth, this wealth identity activation, what would I believe? And that's how we're framing that. What would I believe instead? Who would like to share their insights? And we've got Leslie who's at work kind of watching, but if you want to share what you realized today, what your insights were, like, hey, who have you been acting like? I act like I believe I'm not enough. I act like I'm believing that people don't want to help me. I'm acting like I believe that no one will buy from me. What are you acting like? You reacted like someone who believes. I'm reacting like someone who believes she's not worthy. Who wants to share what they came up with? Okay, Lenora,
Well, first, let's see if you could hear me.
I can hear you. We had a little trouble, but it's on the job now. Your microphone's on the job.
That's good. And this just happened today. Our elevator uh has gone is down again for about 10 hours while they're finishing out the cab of it.
Yeah,
They had it down, for a few days and now it's back. Well, it's also snowing fairly heavily, so I can get myself and the dog down. We're on the sixth floor. We can get down on the stairs, but it's snowing heavily and she won't do everything that she needs to do. And so that's going to be an issue because we can't go up and down as often as she'd like. So I recognized I was really upset about it. Um, I mean, it has to be done. So I was reacting like someone who believes life is hard and I have no help. And so what I did, going down and back up, I was letting my mind, because I was very angry and upset. It's like, this is terrible. Um, and at first I was saying I can do hard things. I'm someone who can do hard things. I've proven it. I've done a
yeah,
lot of hard things. And so then it evolved into I can do hard things when necessary. I can do what's necessary even when it's hard. And then just now, the tag along was this is hard only for a few hours.
yeah,
It's really not that big a deal. And I can do hard things. I've proven it.
yeah,
And it's like, oh, I'm someone who can do what's necessary even when it's hard. And it shifted my body out of
yeah.
tension and out of anger. It's like, yeah, this is it. We have to do it. There you go. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever is probably the best thing. And I would even say, hey, today reaffirmed your commitment to find your own place where it's ground level and you can take out your dog and
Oh,
take.
heavens, yes. Heavens, yes. Because this thing, giving, what are you giving up for safety?
Uh-huh.
I have given up peace of mind. I've given up creating what I want to create. And so therefore, I've also been giving up income.
Yeah.
All of that for safety. And it's like, I'm sure I can find safety somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure
I
of
mean,
it.
yeah. I mean, up until now,
Up
this is
until
what
now.
it looked like, right? Now you need to negotiate new levels of safety.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Safety looks like taking care of yourself, and safety looks like living in a place that works for you physically, that where you're comfortable. Yeah, I'm looking for a place now. And I was like, I don't want to go to an apartment complex because they're going to want to put me on the third floor, right? A duplex or a house. That's it. But
Yeah.
then, my sister was like, well, you're not going to make, that's going to be more expensive. I said, I
Hmm.
know they'll just tell me how much
Sure.
money to make. I'm not bound by that price. It just tells me what I need to. Okay. Thank you for
Well,
sharing. You always have the best insights. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. So we're going to go to the next part. We've done, let's see. So now we're in why, my pages are not matching my notes, and that's what's happening here. Okay. So we're just going to go into like, we've done the pressure test. There we go. Thank you for your patience. We're going to move into the heart of today's conversation. Most people allow their identity to shift according to what's happening around them. Confidence rises and fall, worth rises and fall, authority rises and fall. But identity becomes powerful when certain things are no longer up for discussion. Like when I was talking about the place I need to live and the way I want to live. And my sister's argument, thank you, family programming, said, oh, but that's going to be too expensive. No, it won't. I want to find someplace perfect. But these are your non-negotiables. And we have to understand what your standards are. Where it's not a wish, it's not a preference. I want you to think about my standards, what your standards are. And it's a decision about who you're becoming. And we want to look at the question on the handout. Okay, most people allow their identity to shift depending on what's happening around them. Confidence rises and falls, worth rises and falls, authority. Now we can move on down. And then what parts of my identity have I allowed circumstances to control? And Lenora actually tapped into that. How capable I feel, how valuable I feel, how worthy I feel of money or opportunity, or whether I believe I'm a leader. So those are just examples, but on your own, what are you trading, right? What parts of your identity have you allowed circumstances to control? And it could be you as, you know, someone who is sovereign and in control of her life, right? Is maybe you have a high value on freedom and independence. Hey, if you're a healer and a teacher and you see and know yourself that way as a healer and teacher, how have you allowed circumstances to control that? If you're like, I'm a coach, I could say, oh, I'm in a little podunk town. I'm here, I'm there, my weight, my size, this old identity. But what parts of my identity have I allowed circumstances to control? Go ahead and take a minute and write that down. Feel into it. We're not telling stories. We're actually noticing our own neurology, how we're holding that energy. And then we might think about what words or thoughts float up from there, what pictures. But now I want to show you this. I have this here on page 3. Write your identity non-negotiables, these decisions about who you're becoming. Towards the end in section, I think the last section, I have some examples if you want to look at that. I don't want to scroll up and down. I've already been a little silly with that. But now take a minute and some decisions about who you're becoming. It could be I am someone who makes a decision and sticks with it, right? I'm someone who has the power to choose. But we're going to give that about 5 minutes while you write. And if you can't come up with anything now, it's okay. You're going to be thinking about this week. I'm someone who speaks up. I'm someone who honors my time. I'm someone who creates financial stability. We're going to give it about 1 more minute. And remember, these are statements. They're not wishes. They're a decision. Okay. This isn't, oh, I want to be more like that. I ought to be more like that. That's not what we're doing. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about aligned action. And I do have this. This is one of the talks that we gave earlier too. Identity becomes real through behavior. And once identity is defined, the next step is action. And ask yourself, if my new identity were already stable, what action would feel natural within the next 48 hours? What action would feel natural? Not a big action, just a confirming action. Something says, this is who I am now. And then we're going to write down when you're going to do it. When I work with my clients one-on-one, I always say, okay, so we've talked about everything you want to do. What is the number one thing you want to do that must get done so that in order for you to feel successful? And then 2 supporting actions. And then we always say fun. But remember, I gave you the analogy of the pearls of necklace, and every pearl was a now. There's now, and then there's a pearl that's between now and 48 hours from now. Okay. And that action you take between now and those next 48 hours, when one of those pearls is going to benefit a future version of yourself. So, what action can you take that supports your new identity? And then you're going to commit to a time you can do it. I think last week, Margie said, oh my God, I realized I was trying to do something I didn't want to do. She gave herself permission to not do it and made the decision to do it. And like, she jumped right on it. Okay. Did you figure out your action? Okay. Beautiful. Now we're going to go to measurable movement. Movement is the evidence that identity is shifting. Most people look for big external changes, but movement usually starts internally. And movement can look like decisions become easier, there's less hesitation, there's greater emotional stability, there's confidence in your voice, opportunities showed up. I had a client that she made the decision about, oh, here's what I want to do. And she figured her internal positioning. She didn't even figure out the big marketing piece, but here's who I am as I'm talking about that. And later, and there was 3 people she'd been wanting to call. So her commitment was to call these 3 people. All 3 people said, I knew you were in real estate. I didn't realize you were doing that. Tell me more about that. I literally one lady said, I just hung up the phone with someone and I told her I would do some research about someone who does exactly what you told me you're doing. That's how it works. So people responded differently. Like when my back spasm happened, normally I might have given myself permission to get off the hook, but I paid attention to it, right? I had already decided what my 0 effort was. And then when I tuned into my body, it said to create that space of trust. That's an action. That wasn't a mental thing, right? So whatever it is, you're going to ask what movement would tell me what identity is stabilizing. Okay. And then what's a small movement? You could post, you could like listen to your intuition and reach out to a past customer. I'm a manifesting generator, and I realized I respond. Like I set my intention, then my visual comes up, an idea comes in. And if it feels like, if it's right, because I can tell when it's my busy mind and go, yes, it has that When I get it, my internal agreement is I'm going to take action right away on whatever I saw or felt to do. So what small movement could you do this week? And this is between now and next Friday, so you got plenty of time. Okay. All right. So now we're going to walk through, we're going to kind of formalize. Okay. Thank you, Lenora. Action research on how to set up an LC. Yeah. There's a free resource to do that. I would say don't pay anybody, but there could be a free resource on that. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Who wants to share? Okay. Hey, Larry, thanks for joining. We're going to anchor this internally, and that's what we do in the IAM protocol. We've already chosen a non-negotiable energy statement and one that feels powerful. Okay. And then we're going to be doing a command, but read through your non-negotiables. Okay. And Larry, let me see if I can send you a handout. All right. We are on page 5. Choose a statement that feels most powerful. Now you're going to close your eyes and you're going to notice where you might feel tension in your body when you imagine fully embodying that identity. It could even look like there's pressure in your tummy, your heart, around your throat. You could suddenly go, yeah, there could be confusion. Your brain might go, yeah, but. Okay. So we're noticing it, but now ask yourself, what belief would make this identity feel natural? Like, what do you have to believe in order for that new identity to feel natural? It could be as simple as, hey, I'm somebody who can get things done. Or for me, I have a really strong belief in my intuitive guidance. My intuition is never wrong. What belief would make this identity feel more natural? But now we're going to visualize. Remember, you decided what thing you were going to do within the next 48 hours? Visualize yourself doing it. And it could just be a teeny vignette, which Neville Goddard talks about this. It doesn't have to be a big, long movie because you get lost in all the details. So it could be, hey, I see myself talking to my friend going, oh my gosh, this thing that would just happen. And, before if I thought about doing it, I would have freaked out. But if it's so easy, that's a vignette, just a little short movie. So what would that little short movie look like when you visualize it? Okay. And we're on step 4. And then we're going to make a command. Now, here's a command I wrote, and we'll do that one, and then you'll have a space to do your own, and we're going to do the 6 steps of the one command. Okay. The one I came up with is, I don't know how. I now live in complete clarity and confidence because I honor my non-negotiables. I don't know how I'm living in that clarity and confidence. I only know it so now, and I am fulfilled. Okay. That's kind of the rest of how that goes. So we're taking the thing from an affirmation into a command, but then later, when you want to remind yourself, that's when your affirmations happen. A lot of people try to like affirm, and they're trying to negotiate and overpower and overwhelm their subconscious mind. And then that throws you in a feeling of not being safe. And then you start shutting down and all the resistance pops up. By commanding first, you're commanding from a state of having made the decision because you're able to, because you're worthy of it, and nothing works unless you make that decision, right? The universe is waiting for you to make your decision. So you've made your decision. And that's the state of being that you're making your command from. I wish you could have had the pleasure of meeting Asara Lovejoy, she's still alive in the world, and she's still teaching some things. But what Asara modeled perfectly was her right to make a decision and to not have to argue with reality. And when she decided something, that was it. And I would try to like be practical and inform her on how the world actually works, but she never listened to me. And things seemed to manifest the way she expected them to. She had that decision down. So now you've visualized it. Now we're making the command. Y'all ready to go up? All right. And then you're going to format your own particular command. I don't know how. I apologize. This got a little wonky, but what you're supposed to be doing is you've made a decision about the identity you want to live from, right? Lenora gave the example. I don't know how. I know myself who's able to do hard things when I need to. I only know I do now and I am fulfilled. That's how simple it is. Okay. All right. But I'm going to walk you through there. All right. Let's go ahead and close our eyes. And we're going to go through the 6 steps of the one command. Just feel yourself in your body, settle into your hips, and feel your connection to the earth. And now just with your feet flat on the ground, just feel at the base of your feet like you have these long tree roots coming down through the bottom of your feet and maybe even at the base of your spine, but you're really grounded. You are releasing the tension, the anxiety, everything that holds your old programming, beliefs, and identity in place. We're just going to go ahead and let it go. Release it down to the earth so that that energy can be transformed and transmuted. And now just allow that transmuted energy to come back up through your feet, into your hips, into your neck and your shoulders, down your hands, bringing your attention to your heart as you're aligning to this new identity. And it could be you're aligning to that future version of yourself that you're committing to. And feel that future version of yourself aligning to you. There's no manipulation, no control. This is you and your future self opening a whole new channel of connection. That's right. Now, I want to invite you to become aware of this pole of light that's coming down through the top of your head, down your spine, goes all the way down to the earth. And this is your connection to source. And however you imagine that, to heaven, to God, creator, to the great light, whatever you imagine source mind to be. With your eyes closed, very softly roll your eyes up as if you're trying to look up that up through the top of your head and send your consciousness up that pole of light. The higher you go, the faster you go, and soon you find yourself in the beautiful, velvety, black void of space. Break through the darkness into the light of pure, open potential. Just feel that open potential expanding all around you, keeping your eyes up. First command, I don't know how. I now live with complete clarity and confidence because I honor my non-negotiables. I only know I do now and I am fulfilled. And now you have your non-negotiable that you identified. I don't know how. I am now living from this state of being of this non-negotiable. I only know it is so now, and I am fulfilled. I don't know how I'm living from this new identity as one who no longer negotiates with reality their future, their finances, their family, real or imagined, their past. I no longer negotiate with that which no longer serves me. I only know as I speak my intention, it is fulfilled. And boom, let that go. Let your eyes relax. Let that expand out. That I don't know who brought that one in. Thank you for that. Expand that out. Expand that out. We're connecting literally to the quantum field for all knowledge, all experience, all the skills, all the resources, all the understanding is right there. Everything that you need to shift that identity is now available to you, and it's coming back down. And what's coming down is this new version of yourself into your familiar body. And as you're coming into your body, you're going to unwind, unwind, unwind. Oh, and this is happening at a neurological level all the way down to the DNA. You might even feel some energy kind of tingling around you. Keep your eyes closed. Now you're going to be rewinding, rewinding, rewinding. Your new neurology, the new belief system is getting installed. New systems, habits, protocols are being activated. You may feel pressure in the front of your forehead. Massage your forehead. That's because your frontal lobe is getting the download. New neural transmitters and receptors are being created. And breathe into that. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Ooh, you're going to be checking in just a second. I want to point out, here's some of the non-negotiable examples, which is like starts at page 6. I want you to sit with this week. Print this out if you can, or have it on your phone so you could edit it. But then you want to reflect. Now we've done our command. Let's reflect right now. Which 3 non-negotiables feel most important to you right now? Is it your finances? Is it about your energy, your safety and environment, your purpose, your freedom, your financial identity? Like, just very quickly write those down. And it's important that we're writing them down after commanding, because this is where you're going to start pre-programming yourself, and you're directing your beautiful reticular activating system to create proof and also start showing you the signs. Okay? And if these 3 standards were fully established in your life, how would your decisions be changed? And then we always tie back to action. But sit and reflect with this, okay? And now we want to come back. Now we're going to remember we opened the loop at the beginning. This is how we close the loop and anchor in. Now, I'm not just showing you how we do the class, because this is a brilliant way to do the class, but I am showing you how you actually want to be in your creation. Because a lot of times we're doing some processing or meditating, we're making decisions, and we get so busy, we do all this stuff, and then we kind of lose the thread. But we lose the thread because we're not intentionally closing the loop. And when you open and close the loop intentionally, like if you say, today I'm going to do business planning, and you're business planning from this state of being of someone who has the ability to plan brilliant, create brilliant strategies for your business and design a program or a product that your ideal customer is actively looking for. If you are the one they're seeking. What is that in Reiki? Shakare, not Shakare, is never mind. But there's literally an energy field about that. Now I wish I hadn't said Reiki, because now my mind is wanting to go to that one. Sahiki. It's going to that Sahiki. I am the one. I am the one. You're going to be in the I am the one energy. But then when it comes time at the end of the day, you want to close that loop. You're closing the mental tab. We're closing the energetic loop so we can anchor it back into our body. Okay. So You're actually learning how to process for yourself here. Okay. So now check back on the first page and return to that desire that you wrote at the beginning. Like when you were like, hey, I want to be the person who, right? That new identity. You saw how you reacted before, and then you made the decision about what identity you wanted to act from. And what happens in your body now? Is there less tension, more clarity, more certainty? But you'll be completing the reflection and you may need a few minutes after the call. The identity that feels stronger now is, like Lenora said at the beginning, hey, she made that shift. Now she's stronger in the identity of someone who can do hard things if she has to. But she also got stronger in the identity of someone who is able to get herself into a different situation. One action I will take within 48 hours. It's just reaffirming what you decided before we commanded. And then the same is one sign of movement I will look for this week is. It is repetitive, but you did one before the command. Now you're doing one after because now you have a new mind, literally a new mind that you want to create from. And so you're going to be, that's why it looks like it's a little repetitive. We're opening and closing loops and opening and closing doors all the time. Okay. And I just want to, encourage y'all to spend some time with it, write it down, play with this technique and try it out for different things. Like I gave the suggestion about how to do it for your business. You might do it like, hey, I want to spend time meditating because I want to manifest or create or change this particular outcome. Maybe you need to make some changes in your life. Like it's time for me to really step it up on the exercise, stretching and little walks aren't doing it. So I've got to start hitting the gym and building the muscle. But also I've got to take control of my environment because there's a big change I want to make. Right. So when I'm thinking about my environment, I don't want to think about it from, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's too hard. That's me reacting as if I had no energy or power or I'd never, made physical changes before. Right. Now I'm going to be someone who has the power and authority and the energy to transform my environment. That's what this is talking about. And so if I wanted to take that action within the next 48 hours, what would be something I could do? So play with it, experiment with it. Okay. And then this is just in the handout, kind of like this encapsulates everything that we did. Okay. All right. I want to just open it up. We have a few minutes for feedback. I just want to see if there's any questions or comments. This is a new format that we're doing. And I was wondering what y'all were thinking about it.
For me, everything came back to choices and how I've been sort of robbing myself because I haven't been making the right choices that benefit me. And it all sort of stems to not dealing with the now because I just push everything into the future. Oh, in the future, this will happen, that'll happen. The other
Yeah.
thing, without a common path to get there and just sort of relying on my excuses that I
It,
don't have, you know, I don't have the choice to do it now because now it's not the right time. It's going to be later. It's going to be later on. And later I'll have this, that, I'll be like this, I'll be like that. This perfect life will be later on. But right now I'm not there and I'm not making the right choices to get there.
and so making no choice defaults to the worst possible outcome for your future self, right?
Yep. And so let's two things. It's the choices and it's living in the now and stop with the future.
Yeah. And, vision is supposed to show us, like, help us build the path, right? It's supposed to help us get the blueprint. But what you're talking about is it feels more comfortable to imagine the future rather than actually take action now, right?
Yeah,
Safer.
yeah, absolutely. So this
So
has
when you're
been
safe in your butt
invaluable.
to make a choice and live with the choice, right? Because that I'm hearing fear of making a mistake. You're not a lazy person, but there could be some overwhelm. And it could also be the choice would cause too big a ripple, right?
Yeah,
So,
or the choice won't work. The choice won't work. It's like someone who's afraid it'll never happen, so they don't do it.
right. So one it could so it's positioned too big in your mind, right? I want
Mm.
to make this choice, but it's not going to happen anyway, right? Because you're not someone who's able to act on your choices. That's the identity.
Or commit. It's not even act. I am able to
Yeah,
act, but
you
it's
can't commit.
yeah,
Ooh,
it's commit or
I know
stay
that one.
consistent or stay
Ooh,
consistent with the commitment.
yeah. So can you forgive yourself for not being consistent with your commitment before?
Yes.
Because you were doing what you were able to do to the degree that you were able to do it. And all you're being asked is to do what you can do to the degree that you can do it to make it real. And the only way you know is moving forward, but setting smaller steps so that you can build proof and be, like address those feelings, those fears. And then you're catching yourself. Look at me keeping my commitment. Look at me doing that. Okay, I can keep commitment. Okay. I can do it. I will do it because that's who I am. So you're going to be having some interesting conversations with yourself this week.
Thank you. This has really been invaluable.
I'm so glad. Thank you. And what you want, what you need is worth the time and energy. You're worth the time and energy to explore that. Okay. And to give yourself what you need in order to live the life you really want. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, honey. I appreciate you sharing. I'm so happy to hear you. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I asked you to unmute. I'm going to make sure you're muted. Sorry. Anybody else want to share? Okay. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to keep working on this. My goal is to have 21 of these. The first few were kind of triage, but now we're building on the lesson for each week. And this is the next natural step of the one command and the commanding wealth. This is really where you're building that energy, building that identity and acting from that identity. This is the next step. It's really been missing. And I'm so thrilled to be sharing this. And I really appreciate y'all's faith and trust in me. Okay, so next time, this is Catherine Perry. I witness your mastery. Bye bye, everybody.